Hi, everyone. Thank you for being with us on our conference from Behind the Development. We're really glad to have you on board. First of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Alexandre Chénier. I'm the owner of Hockey Development. I'm also a Hockey Canada Certified Skill Coach and Hockey Quebec Certified Skill Coach. I'm working with Major AAA here in my city, and I'm also a teacher in physical education at elementary school. Um, I have worked with pro player to younger player, and I have many camp during summer also. Thank you for being with us, like I said, and I'll let introduce my partner Mitch.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for the introduction. This is me, Mitch Jigger. I just came back a couple of weeks ago from Russia. I'm the video coach for the Torpedo Nizhny Novgorod in the KHL. I just finished my first year with them. I am the chief of hockey development in North America for Sport Contract. I'm certified by Canadian Sport Institute, so I have my advanced coaching diploma. So basically, it's the NCCP 4. On top of that, I'm certified high performance 2 by Hockey Canada that I've done, I think it was 6 or 8 years ago. And I'm the owner of Behind the Bench, basically a video analyst that I can guide people, coaches, players with it. So I've worked with coaches from a different level on the video side. Check out my website if you need more information, www.behindthebench.ca. And lastly, basically, I've worked as a head coach or assistant coach or GM at probably every level. Work here in Quebec from U8 to U20. Work with as a scout in the Q here. Work in the WHL. Work in the CSSHL. I've worked youth sports. I've worked with pro guys, young guys. Now I'm working in the KHL. So this is who I am. If we move to why we picked behind the development, or I should say behind the development, it's a mix of me and Alex. So I own behind the bench, and he's own hockey development in French, en français. So it's a mix of both. So that's why we had a lot of questions. Hey guys, you've made a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. So it's behind the me and development in French him. So that's a mix that we decided to merge together. So that's why it's not a mistake. It's just a mix of us. So that's why I think it's great because we want to make sure we reach as much as people as we can. Before moving back to Alex with our speaker for this presentation, I would just like to say thank you to all our partners. Without them, we will never have the same exposure worldwide for sure. Everything went beyond and above so far, and thank you to all of you to make this happen. So, first of all, we would like to thank the coaches side. Uh, with coaches side, we if you're using the coupon BTD 21 BTD 21, you can save $20 off of an annual membership. And if everyone who subscribe to one of the live conferences, we will giving one free annual membership at the end. So in June, we would like to say thank you to coach them. With them, they provide all the drawing that you can see in the conferences or after throughout the email. You can save 15% off on an annual membership by using the coupon BTD15. BTD15. Same thing as the coaches side. Coach then will give one free annual membership at the end of all the conferences to everyone who subscribed to one of the conferences. And we would like to say thanks to True Hockey. They will give 3 pairs of gloves at the end of the conferences. So we will pick 3 people that will receive a brand new designed by True pair of gloves, the color and the size that you want, obviously. So we would like to say thank you to 3 of them. And we would like to say thank you to Hockey Quebec and Hockey Canada to help us to be part of them and to make that this country probably, not probably, the best country in the world with hockey. So, Alex, your turn with the presentation and the speaker for today.
Thanks, Mitch. We're really proud to have with us today Joel Lenius. Joel is the owner and managing director at Skate to Excel. He's also a Hockey Canada certified skill coach. Joel will talk about the multifaceted use of our inside edge. Thank you, Joel, and enjoy everyone.
Thanks, guys, again for having me tonight. I guess through COVID, just trying to find ways to sort of reinvent yourself and push yourself and do things kind of outside of your comfort zone. And so this has certainly been a fun little project for me, and doing some more online stuff and some more coach seminars, which has been a lot of fun. We haven't been on the ice here in Edmonton for about well, I think it's about 3 weeks now, so we should be back next week. And it's been kind of an up and down season here, just I'm sure it's been for many people, but really excited to get back on the ice next week and get working with some players throughout the summer and help them get ready for what hopes to be a full season next year. So as Alex said, this topic will be on inside edges. I did present at the Global Skills Showcase, and it was on jab step. So a lot of inside edge development, and just wanted to do something a little different and just kind of put something else out there. And again, always open to feedback and to learning and to hearing what you have to say. And yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm actually from Markham, Ontario. I've lived now in Edmonton for 5 years. I've loved my time in Edmonton, met some amazing people out here west, and miss my family and friends for sure. And it's been hard through COVID not being able to see them, but definitely have enjoyed my time out west, and it's been really good to me as well too. So I guess just a little bit of background about me. I played junior in Ontario, and then I went and played university at the University of Toronto. And then after, I went and played in Europe for a couple of years professionally. Through that time, I got to work with when I was a young kid, got to work at Skadon Hockey School, which is a pretty prestigious school in Ontario. And I was just a young one there, just pushing pucks around and listening and watching and learning. So I, took a lot of good things away from there. And then I got when I finished playing hockey, I ended up working at the bank for a little bit, and that certainly wasn't for me. I would end up getting to the bank full of sweat, and just wasn't the job for me. So, and then a job popped up with one of my old coaches who owns national training rinks, and that was kind of the start to my coaching. And I started coaching AAA in the GTHL with the Toronto Red Wings organization, multiple different age groups. That was a lot of fun to kind of start my bench coaching. And then I ended up taking a job with Skate Canada, and I helped redevelop their power skating program called Can Power Skate. And that was just an amazing experience for me, and lots of learning from figure skaters and how they teach their style of skating, and also how they would teach power skating to hockey players, and really technical, lots of details. And I really love that aspect from them. And then I ended up starting my own business, and that's called Skate to Excel. And then I moved out to Edmonton here, and I'm the technical director with Hockey Edmonton, which is our minor hockey association, and get to do a lot of fun stuff with player development, coach development, and program design. And then with my Skate to Excel business on the side, I get to do that on the evenings and weekends. A lot of fun. I've worked with Hockey Canada National Women's Program for 3 years. I work with our Team Alberta programs, got to work with MacEwan University, and helped to develop some programs out here called Western Flyers, and our FXHP Hockey Academy with one of the Catholic schools here in Edmonton. I'm also a contracted development coach with the Oilers, so I will do work with their injured players or their off-season or development camp. It's a lot of fun for me to work with that level as well too. And then I'm heavily involved in the female hockey as well too. I'm the head coach of the Pandas U18 AAA team here, and I've really enjoyed that experience. So again, I don't really want to read through all of that, but I just through all those experiences that I've been coaching, the one thing that I would say is that each place that I've had the opportunity to work at, to coach at, I've learned a ton, and I think it's kind of helped to shape how I coach players now, and our philosophy when we coach as a group. So, which kind of leads me into my next sort of step. Again, with my work with Hockey Canada, I'm really focused in on the player development pyramid that they share, which kind of includes the the 6 different areas right here, 5, sorry, technical skills, individual tactics, team play systems, and strategy. With the team tactics and team play systems and strategy, I focus on those a little bit more when I'm head coaching a team. But when I'm doing my skill sessions, I'm heavily focused on technical skills and individual tactics. And particularly the details that are within them. So the fundamental skills of skating, puck handling, shooting, passing, checking. Really love the details of within them, and just trying to fine tune little aspects of players' games so that they can improve in the individual tactic area as well too. So as we kind of show the practice plan that Stephen at Coach Them has helped me to create. Just want to put an emphasis on how we start with really, really simple, small movements with technical skills to start a practice or a skill session, and how those movements and those skills translate to the very last drill of our skill session, which would include making reads, making decisions on a more individual tactical base, whether it be 1-on-1, 2-on-2, or some drill that we utilize to help emphasize and execute the skills that we were working on that day. So just a little bit about me and what I coach and what's important to me. I certainly definitely agree with a lot of people out there that players need to learn on their own in terms of when and where and why things happen. I'm a little bit more focused on the technical side, maybe loading a leg a little bit better, pushing a little bit more efficiently, because I feel that if we can master those small little movements and those skills, it'll just make things easier for when those players go to their coaches and are trying to execute team tactics or systems or whatnot. So definitely, certainly agree that reading and reacting to the game is important, and we try to end all of our practices with some sort of aspect with that. So this is probably the most important slide that I will present on today. And again, I think at times as skills coaches, especially with so much access to video nowadays, we tend to overcomplicate development, skills, everything. And I think we have to be really careful of that. And I'm guilty of that for sure, 100%. But there's been a really cognizant awareness lately to really make sure that we're not overcomplicating things. And that goes to players that we're coaching at the NHL level or U15, which is our youngest level right now as well too. So we try not to overcomplicate things. And so when we talk about skating, I've kind of developed them. Obviously, we have our inside edge, we have our outside edge, and we have our flats. But when we talk about skating, the blade has the ability to execute 3 distinct tasks. And regardless of what edge you're on, I've never yet to this day seen a task outside of these 3. And those tasks are gliding, sliding, and pushing. So all these crazy skills that we're seeing in the NHL and the amazing talent, they're built upon what we think those 3 skills. So when we design a practice plan, and the practice plan that I've designed for this session is solely focused on sliding. So we want to start with that sliding movement, and we want to make sure that that movement of the sliding skills on the inside edge, for example, for today, is executed at the start of the session, and it's utilized throughout the entire session as we go. So I think for us, just an emphasis, we're going to talk a lot about gliding, sliding, and pushing. And that's why we talk about the multifaceted inside edge, because it has the ability to do all 3. And maybe perhaps for people who haven't really broken down some skills, don't really know that all those 3 things can potentially happen within a specific skill. So just for example, if we take a crossover, for example, there is no sliding skill in a crossover, but there's 2 pushes and there's 2 glides. So we're using 2 skills, 2 of those tasks, within that particular skill. Single leg sliding, so that would obviously, or gliding, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well too. That would just be one single task that you're using, and that's just a gliding skill. So I've taken a bunch of really common skills, and I put them within the category that I think they fall within, but some might fall within others. So I think this is probably the most important part of the presentation. Hopefully you can take something out of this, and maybe perhaps you can develop a little bit of a theme when you're developing your practice plans moving forward. It could be outside edge day, and we're going to work on outside edge glides, and then you try to execute and have that task throughout your entire session. So that's just a little bit how I would design a skating specific session. It would focus on one of those three tasks, whether it be gliding, sliding, or pushing. So those tasks, and we come back to those tasks, what are those tasks typically used for? So we've talked about the skills and how they relate to those tasks, but what are those tasks typically used for, and what would we use them to execute? So when we talk about gliding, a gliding skill is just a really fluid, controlled movement. You're either slowing down your pace or you're holding the same pace of which you generated before you were gliding. Some amazing examples of players in the NHL that are really good at this are McKinnon, Kaprizov, and Crosby as well too. He's been excellent, but over the years with his inside edge gliding, specifically with his heel to heel motion. But heel to heel skating, you can actually glide and you can actually push. So that's a skill that has both. And when we're pushing with heel to heel, we're generating speed. When we're gliding, we're just holding and maintaining or slowing that speed that we generated before. When we come to slides, so slides is, we come back to when we were in Timbits and there's a fish drawn on the ice with a bingo dabber, and we're taught, hey, I want you to scrape away this fish on the ice. That's a simple skill of being able to control that slide, being able to push into the ice at the pressure that you want it to be pushed upon. So obviously we've developed that sliding skill, particularly for stopping or changing direction when we're really, really young. And we're seeing some amazing change, I think, in the game today, where sliding is becoming a task that's executed so often. Whereas probably say 10 years ago when Ovechkin and Crosby were kind of the prototypical NHL idols, sliding wasn't so much a necessarily skill. So sliding, if we talk about outside edge with slides, we're talking about a jab step or a punch turn where we use that one of those inside legs to push into the ice to, we're scraping ice, we're blowing snow, and we're using it to quickly change direction, which we talk about here. Also slides, obviously, when we're pushing in the ice and we're slowing down our pace as well. So that's the second aspect of our task of sliding. That's why we'd execute it. We'd also use that slide to push and change direction. And we're going to talk about this a little later on as well too. And when we're pushing and changing direction, we're also creating new lanes for ourselves, wherever that be. And then we're also using slides for deception. Deception is such a huge skill within skating nowadays. So just really understanding what that slide is used for, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. The thing we haven't really talked about here yet is getting behind heels of defenders. And that's something that just that quick change of direction, that quick slide or that push into the ice, we want to try to get behind the heels of the defenders, because if we can get behind their heels, that means they're moving in the opposite direction. So we'll talk about this in a little bit when I show some of the videos. Just really watch the skill, watch the task that they're doing of the skill, but then also watch, what reads are they making on those particular opponents. What are their feet doing? What are they looking at when they choose to decide to make that slide? And then the last thing is pushes, right? We use pushes all the time, whether it be striding, whether it be sculling inside the zone. But when we're pushing into the ice, we're not slowing down and we're not holding speed. We're gaining speed. So that would be a big aspect of the pushes that we need to understand, and how it's different from those other two, where slides really kind of slow us, glides kind of hold and maintain the speed, and pushes give us speed. They help us to maintain speed. And each of these tasks are really important at certain times of the game. So when we look at pushes and we come back again to inside edge of heel to heel skating, for example, Crosby and Kaprizov use it all the time to generate speed and scan the ice, whether in the offensive zone. It allows them to open up their body and see the ice, but they can continue to move while they're pushing with both feet on that inside edge. So just really wanted to stress what these 3 tasks are used for, and not specifically just the skills, but what they're used for. So this is a little bit easier. I like presenting to people in person, but usually I typically throw this out there to the group, and I say, well, what are they doing? You know, what task? I'm not really looking specifically for a skill like crossover or heel to heel skating or sliding or stopping, for example. I really want you to kind of just take 10, 15 seconds to look at these 4 photos and then tell yourself or guess what one of these 3 tasks these players are doing. And there's some really key things that I think that we can observe just from a simple photo to determine what those tasks are. So just give you a quick 10 seconds and look through those photos and try to relate one or maybe multiple of those tasks to that photo. Awesome. I think probably watching the game, especially the playoffs, one of the best players at using their outside edge is Makar. He's obviously an exceptional skater and uses all edges really well, but some of his fanciest maneuvers and his most beautiful footwork really comes from that inside edge. So when we look here, we look at this first photo, whether it be glide, slide, or push. I think in this particular moment, he's gliding, he's holding speed. And I think when we're going to talk a little bit about mechanics and opportunity areas for growth, when we look at him holding the speed, so he's crossed over, he's now holding the speed, great vision up ice, his hands are off his body, and his left leg here is bent and it's engaged. And you can kind of tell where the weight is on the ball of the foot, not on the heel. And I think the last really awesome thing about this is that this toe is close to the ice. So for 2 reasons, that allows him the quick ability to make the next maneuver, whether he wants to go to his right leg, then maybe back to his left, or just completely shift to his right altogether. But then it also allows him to keep his hips square. One of the things that we see often with players is that they drag this foot behind the other, and then it opens their hips, which prevents them from optimally holding and gliding on that one leg. So here for me, you're seeing him execute a gliding skill. So he's generated speed before, now he's holding it on the ice while he scans and glides. If we take a look at the bottom right corner, for me, this is a sliding skill. So he's obviously moved down the wall and you can see the snow that's blown by that right leg. Talk a little bit about mechanics. Eyes are up, hands are off the body. He's nice and low and bent in his stance. So after the slide, there's going to have to be a push because he's going to want to get out of the skill that he's executed here. So again, we are seeing in this photo one task, but that task is going to eventually lead to another. And for us, when we teach, the exits are so important as skills. You could be the most skilled skater, most skilled player. You can be able to execute all the skills you want. And you actually see this a lot in the NHL where players are really skilled, but they lack the ability to exit those skills, whether it be with a crossover or loading a leg to push, to create that separation that's needed after executing the skill. And one thing we talk with players a lot is it's amazing how skilled you are, but you have to complete the skill. You did kind of half the task. You were able to use some deception or use a skill to get away, but now you've got to push to get out. So again, kind of off on a tangent, but here he's using his right leg to slide. You can see where the snow is coming from the front half of the blade, which is where we want to see that weight distributed on the foot. The right leg is engaged and bent so that it will allow him to push out if he so necessarily needs. His hips are open on his left side, which would allow him to quickly change direction and get out the other way without even having to cross over. Look at this top right photo here. Again, for us, we would say that he's gliding. So you look at this back foot, he's got weight on the front half of the blade. Here he's got front half of the blade as well. So this, we can tell right now we're on both of those inside edges. Again, excellent mechanics up top, shoulders are square, eyes are up for vision. He has the ability to look around his body. And both legs are loaded. And he has the ability now to push out of this heel to heel inside edge skill that he's executing. And it's really similar to one in the bottom left. So here we would say definitely he's gliding for sure, and will eventually come back to the task of pushing, because he's going to have to push to exit the skill that he's doing. Here as well, we really look at the feet of the defender of Makar in this photo. Really great job of seeing how the weight is distributed to the ball, the front half of the foot. That leg is engaged. And we can tell that eyes are up again, hands are off the body, allows him to make quick plays and quick reads. And again, this back leg is loaded to eventually push. So lots of different tasks that you can kind of pinpoint and see within these photos, glides, slides, and pushes. And that's from a guy who I think is exceptional at using that inside edge with all three of those tasks. You may look through at Crosby and Kaprizov, and I would say exceptional inside edge skaters, but they're a little more typical within the glide and the pushing. Where we watch with Makar, especially when he's walking the blue line up top, we've seen those crazy slides to shake forwards. So he has the ability to use that third task. And that's just kind of the way that the game has changed from when Crosby played, for example. But, you can kind of observe different players who are actually better at utilizing different options through those tasks. So execution, observation, category. So these for us are just typical things that we look for when we're watching a player go through a drill, go through a pattern, go through whatever it is. And they're things that we would typically talk to them. So anybody who's worked with us would recognize a lot of this information on the slide deck. And again, we talked about in that first slide how we as skills coaches, again, because of all the resources and the information and the coach development like this, we have all this information, but I think we have to be really careful how much we give to players, and especially even at the highest level of play. Sometimes just one single point of adjustment or observation is more than enough to make some quick changes. And then you can kind of progress on to the next thing. So for us, again, for me, really heavily skating focus in particular exercises. So, when we look through the videos and even when you look through, maybe, for example, my Instagram account and some of the videos that are there, which I never wanted to post on there anyways, but I was told that I had to start posting on Instagram, but it's been kind of fun. But none of those videos are perfect. And so I think sometimes in Instagram and social media, we think that every drill that we post has to be perfect, but they're not. And there's so many things that we can adjust or discuss with the players that we're coaching. So for us, the four areas that we discuss is lower body. And there's so many different things within the lower body. So we talk about engagement. And again, some people, 45 degrees, this and that. And yes, I know that information, but I think that players don't process that. So how can we verbalize it in a manner that they really understand and it's quick to process? So we talk about engagement. So bended ankles, knees, and hips. And we often say knees over toes. And that when you say knees over toes, that means that we're bending at our ankles, we're bending at our knees, and we've got a slight bend at our hip. I don't need to give a degree of bend. They understand that they need to be engaged. And one of the pet peeves that we have at skill sessions is players that are just standing straight and upright. And there's no right or wrong to how low that they have to go. Every player is different. Every player is a different size. But we can tell if a player is actually engaged. If they're actually loading their legs, if they're actually pushing, knees over toes, bend at those 3 points of flex. I think one thing when we watch the videos, some of the players that we've coached, is loading the legs fully is something that we see as a really big area of opportunity. And that might even be from something that's off ice when you're doing lateral lunges or you're doing squats. Like, are we actually moving in our full range of motion? Or are we just kind of jumping side to side, front to back? And I think even that translation from off ice to on ice, really trying to get players to load their legs fully. And if they load their legs fully, it just prevents them from having to do so many unnecessary skills to get out of what they, or to exit whatever skill they chose to be in. Downward pressure on blade, that's huge for us when we watch players and you watch the videos. And just like we look through those pictures, I can tell where the weight is distributed on the blade. And for us, when weight's distributed on the heel, turns are faster, sure, but we don't have really any control of the pressure that's being put onto the ice, and it makes it really hard for us to set ourselves up for a really good exit. So we talk about controlling that downward pressure on the blade, making sure the weight is on the front half of the foot, the ball of the foot, and really avoiding having weight situated on the back half of the blade. And then we talked about earlier with Makar about how that toe is down on secondary skate. So if we're gliding on one leg, we want to have that second leg ready and available for the next skill, for the next movement. And that also really has a lot to do with our hips. So if we have that secondary leg that's not on the ice dragging behind us, our hips open, our glide suffers, and it really prevents us from having that ability to quickly exit whatever single leg skill that we're executing. And then again, we come back to that opening hips for the next skill, keeping our hips square. That really has a lot to do with keeping that toe down or available for the next skill. The second execution observation category we have is upper body. Are our eyes up? Are we looking around us? Or are we just having eyes up? You know, if we've got the puck on the right side of our body, are we looking to the left? Or are we just looking to the side of the puck? Are our shoulders square to the play? Are our hands away from our body so that we're able to execute turns? Especially for us, when we talk about with turns, we really teach no crossing of the hands. It allows players to exit those skills with the ability to make the next play really quick without having to adjust that top hand that's kind of come inside their body. So we talk a lot about that as well too. And then the other thing that we talk about really often is the head and the upper body rotation. If you want your turns or your transitions or your skills to be faster, you need to lead with your head, because your head will rotate, your shoulders will rotate, and that turn just happens quicker. The second thing, it makes it safer for you. So it gives you the ability to be able to see what's coming next, making reads, not just the initial read. So when you make that first skill, but really good players have the ability to make secondary reads before and during the exit of their skills. So leading with the head and that upper body rotation makes that transition faster and also just makes it safer. And then the third topic we talk about a lot with players is puck management. So protecting puck, getting the puck outside the bubble of the defender. So it just means the reach of their stick, having really good range of motion with our bottom hand, having really good control of that stick with our top hand, having a good high elbow to ensure that our blade is flat on the ice, and extension skills. That's just movement of our bottom hand. And then we talk about crossing of hands again as well too. And then the fourth, and this kind of really only pertains to kind of the end of some of our skill sessions, but it's locations and reads. Did you execute the skill in a really good area that would probably have good opportunity for success? Did you make a really good read? And we're going to talk about that in some of the videos that I show, where players are we add pressure, and it's token pressure. It's very specific, but the pressure is there, and there's parts of the pressure that are really necessary for that player with the puck to make a read. And so when we add players, token pressure players, we ask them to do specific things so that the player who's executing the skills will make those particular reads. And we want them to watch for things such as movement of the feet, lunging with the hands, lunging with the stick, where's the weight distributed on the feet. So all these things that are observation areas for us as coaches should be observation areas for players when they're making reads on their opponents as well too. So And last part before we get to the videos, just common opportunity areas. So when you look through the videos, and again, I say they're not perfect. There's lots of parts that we talk to these players about to try to make adjustments. But some common opportunity areas that we see, whether with gliding, sliding, or pushing of our inside edge, is that our feet are too close together or they're too far apart. So just really adjusting that stance, the allocation of our weight on the part of our blade. So when you watch really closely the blade of a player who's executing a skill, where's that snow coming from? Is it coming from the heel? Is it coming from the front half? Because that's a quick little adjustment of that can really have some positive effects on other parts of their game. Are their hips square with their body? Is that secondary leg lagging behind? Are you lacking flexibility in your hips? And again, we talked about those. Are you loading your legs fully? If you don't load your leg fully, this adds extra unnecessary movement and it inhibits our ability to change direction whenever we want. And it probably will make us add crossovers. Not that crossovers are bad, but it's just an unnecessary skill that had to be added because we didn't load our legs fully. Slow exits and no separation. We harp on players all the time. It's great that they're able to execute a skill that we're working on or focusing on that day, or a task that we're focusing on. But if their exits of that skill are poor, we'll harp on them probably just as much as with the skill. So that's something that we really try to push players with, is making sure that the exits are clean, with hands, with vision, with eyes, with rotation of body, but also that there's an acceleration. Take 3-4 quick crossovers or strides to get out of the skill. And again, talking about hands too close to body, is your bottom hand static? Are you crossing your hands on your skill exits? And again, coming down to poor reads and locations. So those are areas that you'll see through the videos, and that we see typically with players from U15 all the way up to NHL, that are common areas that I would encourage you to look for. Or if you're coaching younger, really try to harp and talk about these particular areas with them as well. So now we'll just kind of go to some videos, and just want to give you some examples of some NHL clips. So when I say, hey, here's these 3 tasks: slides, glides, pushes, what's this guy even talking about? And so it's just an easy way for me to break down skating skills. I don't try to mimic all the patterns and the skills that players are doing. Again, like we talked about at the start of the video, they really pertain to these 3 tasks that players are doing. So let's just watch the first one here of Kadri coming off the wall, and then just watch his left leg and what he does before he scores here. So again, really great example. So if we come back here, he's creating separation from the defender right here. So he's got to utilize crossover. So he's pushing. He's crossing over to get inside the dot lane to push to the net to create a scoring chance. But he can't continue to go with speed the entire time. He's got to eventually either hold that pace or slow that pace in order for him to execute a shot or create an offensive opportunity. So he can't just kind of go hard that whole time. It's a really good changing of pace here. So we've crossed over. Now we're gliding left leg. And now it gives him that ability to put that puck in the net. So again, we'll play the whole thing, crossing over, gliding, left leg, and then a release. Beautiful play. When we come here, McKinnon, again, really similar, but off the opposite wall. He's going to do it on his right leg. So again, coming down the wall, he gets close to the net and recognizes that he's got to hold his speed. So here he is holding his speed on his right leg, keeping that left leg available, and doesn't score in the chance, but a really good utilization of that glide. So if we come to here, so again, we'll just pause. So he's crossed over around that initial defender who was pushing him and squeezing him to the wall. Let me backtrack a little bit. Okay, he's gained all the speed. So he's got a ton of speed coming in. He recognizes if he continues to gain speed, he's going to end up running into this second defender, or he's got an option here. So to create a bit of deception and to hold that speed that he generated without generating new speed, he uses that right leg to hold the speed that he generated with crossovers. So here he is, right leg holds speed. Okay, this left leg is available. We've got that toe close to the ice, which would allow him to open hips or change direction quickly without crossing over. Keeps his hips square, keeps his shoulders square, great vision. And he glides on that right leg. Doesn't score, but really good opportunity around that defenseman. And then Kaprizov here, we'll just watch. He's just crazy with his inside edge. So he's got the puck now. So if we kind of look through that, all the changes of pace that he has and how he uses his single left leg to hold speed. So if we look here, he's got that puck, he's going to start to cross over, gain speed. Now he's got too much speed. So he's going to use this left leg here to hold that speed. Now he's going to push out. He does it again. And now he can wrap that puck to the net. Really good utilization of changing speed, holding that speed with one single leg, keeping that right leg available. So if we look a little bit closer here again, left leg holds that speed, and he's able to wrap again using his inside edge in a heel-to-heel motion. Again, pushes around, gliding, inside edges, and for a wrap. Again here, really good transition to our next slide. But again, I just really want to focus on not the specific skills that they're doing, but the tasks. So again, how he's using crossovers to generate speed and how he's using one single leg at times to hold that speed. Again, this is kind of a separate clip, but it's a really good segue to our next slide where he's gliding and now he's pushing. He's pushing. So that movement up top, and if we kind of listen.
That's what Riker calls that Gumby. I can't even imagine how talented you got to be. He was picking up speed doing that. That's what Riker calls that Gumby. Oh my! Gets the feet out sideways like that and rides those inside edges. Makar does it so well. Kaprizov has brought that to Minnesota. They haven't had a guy.
So that's for us just what we would talk about.
She walks it, drops it for Kaprizov. He's chased by the captain all the way up top.
So it brings us to our second task. And again, this is pushes. So using that inside edge to generate speed, to push, to gain speed. So first clip here, it's McDavid on a wrap and stuff. But again, recognizes that tons of pressure is approaching. So he's got to use his inside edges to generate speed, to push.
Russell. Pass along the glass of McDavid. Near the net. Shoots. Scores! Connor McDavid with the hat trick. Down in the corner, so therefore Nesterov has to try and pick his poison. He knows that Kara's going to try to come out the short side.
So as he comes around that net, he recognizes eyes are up. Really good read that there's some pressure in that slot that would quickly approach that far post. So he's got to beat them. So he can't just use his inside edges to glide heel to heel. He's got to generate speed. He's got to push. So if you watch his feet, watch the movement of his feet, picking up his feet to generate speed.
And he's going to walk out. He picks.
So again, a really good read and understanding that he's got to generate speed to get to where he wants to get to and using those inside edges to push. We'll come to here.
Minnesota could be 2-on-1. Kaprizov has Parisi with him. Trying to hold off Sorensen. His backhand centering pass.
Comes down. Now watch this. Opens the hips up. Protects him. Sorensen on the backside. Now he goes between the legs. Tries to flip it up. Gets really...
So again, yes, it's a heel to heel. And yes, there's a bit of gliding because there's no movement. But in order to create separation from that defender that he's using this heel to heel push on, or glide on, he has to push to get around them. So we've come to here, so we've opened heel to heel, so we're in a gliding motion where we're just holding the speed on our inside edges. But now he's used this back foot to push and to create some separation from this defender, because if we just went heel to heel and we were gliding, it gives this opportunity for this defender to catch us or to squeeze us to the wall. But because he opened his hips And because he loaded his back leg and because he pushed, he's able to create
Opens the hips up, protects him. Sorensen on the backside. Now he goes between the legs, tries to flip it up, gets rid
to the net. So again, that's a task, a push that helped him to create an advantage to win a lane on a defender. And again, kind of going retro and back old school. But again, Crosby is so great with his heel to heel, but he uses it for two reasons, just like Kaprizov did there, to create body position, to glide, which is that puck protection aspect, but also to push. So if we watch through the sequence, watch how he glides and watch when he pushes and watch how he changes the speed and the task of which he's doing.
Puck is loose. Crosby went in to steal it. Takes it around the net. Sidney
So
Crosby
glide.
out.
Now he's got to get speed. Push.
Shakes off that check. Goes the other way. Crosby owning the puck.
Okay, now he's got to push. He needs speed, picking up his feet.
On his knees, got it back. The tank fires.
So again, a really good changing of speed between gliding and pushing, gliding and pushing. And we in our skill sessions, we really try to make sure that we're executing both within a skill session, but focusing on one particular task. So again, a really great job here of utilizing glides and then utilizing pushes. We'll play one more time. So picks up that puck. He's got to earn body position, glides. Now he's got to create separation. Good, another escape. Good, another escape. Now he's got to create more separation, picking up his feet on those inside edges. And then we've got a goal. So again, using multiple tasks to create an advantage.
Minnesota could be 2-on-1. The Kaprizov has Parisi with him. Trying to hold off Sorensen.
All right, there we go. Okay, so we'll just kind of talk about how I would use them in a practice. I think one of my videos is not working when we came here, but checked the videos. But again, one thing I want to emphasize is that these are not drills that we would start with. We start with very simple movements. I'm going to go in a bit more detail on sliding skills, just because if I spent the entire night telling you about how we progress glides and pushes and slides, we'd be here for 3 hours. So I'm going to focus a lot more on slides after this. Again, I think it's a really new age skill. I think it's a skill that players need to incorporate within their game. We have so typically taught glides and pushes. So again, when we watch these first two videos, again, this video here, exceptionally talented skater. I've only given him instruction on, I want him to be creative and I want him to change his pace. And so he could do whatever he wants. So he'll come off the wall for a shot, and then he's got to retrieve a puck for a second shot. But really emphasizing the use of the inside edge. Could be heel to heel. He could shoot off a glide. But again, tons of creativity in this. I gave some small framework details, but he had to play within it. Second part I'd note is that after this, we added passes. And then after this, we added pressure. I'm still not the most technologically savvy, so it's hard for me to video when I'm giving the pressure or I'm watching at times. But here we go. Again, tons of creativity, and watch just the use of the inside edge. So here, heel to heel to pick up speed. He's picked up speed. Now he wants to hold it, release. Good retrieval. He's going to go heel to heel, pick up speed, have vision inside the ice. Still picking up speed, holding, and release. So again, constant changes of what he's doing, using heel to skate, using heel to glide, using one single leg to glide and release. But big thing that, again, when we talk about those observation areas is he loading his legs properly? Does he have really good vision? How is he rotating his upper body? Where's the weight distributed on his feet? Is he loading his legs fully so that he can push? And I think this was really well done by him. We look at this next video here. Again, what we wanted is just creativity. So we had the full ice. We were an inside edge day. So he's now combined a ton of different skills here. So again, I gave him a framework. There was no cones. There was no pattern. I said to him, I want you to generate speed using crossovers. So we had the whole ice. So use linear crossovers to generate speed. and then I want you to hold it. Then I want you to generate, then I want you to hold. And then again, he's a defenseman. When he got into the offensive zone, I wanted him to start to use slides and pushes to create some lanes. So he's using pushes, he's using glides, and he's using slides within the sequence. Not a ton of rules. Again, really just wanted him to be creative and use whatever he so choose. So crossing over to get speed, hold, cross, hold, cross, hold, slide, push, push, and then release. So again, really stressing creativity here. This video was really similar, just a different player. So again, these would kind of be middle of the road of my practice plan with the player. We would have worked on the specific gliding motions, really simple to start. And then we would have got to this creativity part, and then we would have added passing, and then we would have added pressure as well after that. So that's kind of how I would progress and work through glides and slides. Glides and pushes, apologies. So now, again, I wanted to focus on one of the tasks. So this practice plan, I think, will be made available to you. So thanks to Stephen, a coach of them. He's awesome, really helpful when it comes to putting together practice plans, and really good resource. And so again, I put together 6 drills of how maybe one day we would put together sliding skills. So I executed this exact practice plan. How I like to start a practice is I like there to be an individual warm-up. I want to get everybody moving, but that warm-up has the movement or the task within it. So that when whatever task we're using here is utilized here, and it translates through all of the drills, and then we finish. So there's a really good translation and transferability through the drills, and then it just helps us when it comes to game transfer. So the movements that I'm going to show you within this first drill, you'll see within the last one. And again, this just gets the heart rate going, gets everybody involved. So these drills are typically either everybody's going at once, or one person's going and one person's on rest, and we blow the whistle and then we go. So really getting the heart rate up and really focusing in on the opportunity to utilize those skills. Our second drill is there's a little more emphasis and more challenge. There would be a line, so players would work through a pattern and then have a shot. You can do it at both ends. And then our third, we're getting a little bit more specific with our skill and starting to blend skills. And now we're getting a bit more game specific here. Again, still no pressure, but using it off an entry. So finding another way to use our sliding skills on our inside edge. And then now we're adding a bit of down low play. And then now we add pressure, which involves reads. So individual, this allows breaks, this allows breaks, this allows breaks. And then we get to a lot more specific where players are utilizing that skill in a game situation. So this practice plan will be made available to you. And this is an exact practice that we've executed before. So now we want to talk about slides. And I think, as I said earlier, that's the third task of our inside edges that's become so relevant within today's game. You're seeing so many players utilize it in so many different ways. Again, I don't really copy the patterns of what these players are doing, but it all has to relate with the simple task and the ability of being able to slide on our inside edge. Ensuring that the weight is on the front half of the blade is really important, and being sure that when we slide, that leg is loaded so that we can push to get out on our exits. So the rest of this session now is going to focus on this particular skill of sliding. So this just happened the other day. To my poor Oilers, but was a really good job by Wheeler using his inside edge to slide to change his direction and ultimately get behind the heels of the defender. So I'll play it, then I'll talk about it. So right here. So skating, slide, and then we move. And now we've created a chance for everybody else. So if we backtrack just a little bit here, come to this. So again, really good recognition by Wheeler. So there's a read. There's first a read. He recognizes that this defender here, or opponent, sorry, he's on ice, but he's moving in that direction. So he wants to get this way. He wants to go in the opposite direction of where his opponent is going. So to change that direction, he uses this right leg here to slide on that inside edge and does an amazing job pulling the puck and around. And then because he's got that secondary wave of pressure, makes a really good read and then a slip pass. So, but if we look at the skill, beautiful slide. Okay, great read, pick up, slide. And now we've lost, pass, goal. So again, this is not really a traditional way of using it. He's kind of done the old pizza stop that we used to teach young kids when we first started coaching. But a great recognition, a great read that he needed to change direction. He controlled the pace of the slide with that right leg, and he was able to get going in the opposite direction of that opponent. Really similar here, but just a different situation. So Makar, amazing at this skill. He is going to pull the puck from the wall to the middle on his strong side. He's going to execute a slide on his right leg, which ultimately opens up a lane for him to get that puck to the net. But before the slide even happens, there's an excellent read on that defender to push behind the heels and get in the opposite direction. So crossing, gaining speed, slide, shift, and pull back. Actually, when we look through this, there's actually two inside edge slides. One is with way harder pressure, and then one is with much lighter pressure to add a bit more deception. So again, as we pulling, we'll pause. Okay, so we can see kind of the toes are here. This defender is trying to push or to take away the inside. Really good job. So Makar slides, and you can see all the snow coming out on that front half of the foot. Eyes are up to make that read. He slides. Okay, and now that slide will push him back towards the wall. Okay, and now what it's done is change the direction of this forward at the point. And now he's made a secondary slide with his right leg and is pushed back. So really good reads, really good utilization of that slide to push to space like we talked about earlier. And now he's created an opportunity for him to get a shot off. So great job there. This one here is, it's a really amazing job by Marchand at making reads on the opponent that is checking him. Zoomed in a bit more on the foot because I want to see the slide here. But ultimately, he executes a punch turn, and then he execute a quick inside edge slide on his right leg to get behind the heels of the defender. So there's a purpose. He's not just executing a pattern, and we wouldn't take this pattern and have players mimic it. We would want players to utilize the punch turn and the inside edge slide in a skill blend situation, but ultimately to get behind the heels. So if we play, so we've got punch turn, slide, and push, and now he's created space. So amazing job. So punch turn, slide, and go. And so again, you can't really see the Philadelphia defender here, but when we go through, so he can't get behind the heels here. That defender's done a really good job of steering him to the wall. So we've delayed to get back up top. So probably this defender here is slow to push, or he's being quite aggressive. Now watch that right leg. We slide, weights on the ball of the foot. The leg is fully loaded, which allows him to push in that opposite direction. That left leg is available, so he can move in that opposite direction as well. And then he's able to get a shot off as he shakes that defender. So again, really good reads, really good job blending of the skills, and really good job utilizing that slide to create a lane for himself to move. And then the other one, this was really cool. The other day, somebody sent me this. I love this clip, but it's off a breakout on an entry. And it's a one-on-one almost. And just watch his utilization of his left leg to slide and create a shooting lane that might not have been there. So right here, this player here with the puck, I think is Evans, slide, get around, and push. It's a beautiful goal. So again, we'll kind of fast track a bit. Goal. So if we backtrack to here, pause. So again, this left leg is sliding because we recognize the route of this defender is here. So we want to go here. So we use that slide, a really hard, aggressive slide to change direction, to get behind the heels of the defender, to get that shot off. We use that inside edge to slide, and then we push. If you kind of have to be critical of this leg is fully extended. So he doesn't really have the ability to push far in that other direction. So that's why he ultimately shoots pretty quick. But what we maybe would like to see here, if we have to be picky, is for him to bend the ankle, the knee, and the hip a little more so he can push a little harder. And that's ultimately why he falls, is because he's got all that weight extended. But really good job, really good read on this defender, good deception to look as if he's going wide. Great slide with that left leg, and good push to get behind the heels of that defender. So 3 really great offensive opportunities, goals that were created with a slide to push in the opposite direction to get behind the heels of those defenders. So I'm going to show you now, these are all the videos of what is on that practice plan. Stephen was also amazing. He linked the specific drill to my Instagram page, which has like 10 videos posted. I like posting multiple videos just so you can see multiple different players with really different skill sets executing the same sort of task. So again, this is the first drill, second, third, and the next slide we'll have the fourth, fifth, and sixth. What I want you to watch for is just how is this movement translated from here all the way to the end. This practice was focused on sliding skills, and sliding skills only, using the inside edge. So we'll play this first video. Again, this is an individual warm-up. This was with partners. So while Zane was going here, his partner was resting, whistle would go, Zane would rest, and partner would come in. Everybody had a device, everybody had a puck. So again, really focusing on the habits and the details within the skill. A really good slide, weights on the front half of the foot, good movement of bottom hand, good rotation of body, loading legs to push to get out. So really slow, methodical movements, really getting the footwork down, really getting the details down. And again, he really has to control the slide because it's a full rotation of the body. So our first drill has tons of emphasis on control. Awesome. Second drill we have now, we talked about where players are taking a turn. So again, we ask for a lot of pace within this drill, and it's specifically within the exits. So they're going to go and execute a skill. There was 3 progressions to this drill. This is the second progression. The first progression had 1 single slide and then an exit. The second progression had 2 slides and an exit. The third progression had 2 slides, then an escape and an exit. So again, things that we would really want to focus on within the drill is loading of legs, is where's the weight on the foot, on the blade, is the person having to use crossovers to get out because they haven't loaded the legs fully. What are they looking at? Are they looking at the next ring or cone, or are they focused on the puck? So lots of little details that we're looking for within this particular drill.
No crosses, no crosses. Good. Good, Carson, better. Nice, Obo, good.
So you can kind of see a difference between the 3. And again, there's no right or wrong to this drill, but we wanted to put an emphasis on loading the leg in the first slide, loading the leg in the second slide, having that secondary leg available to get out on an exit. So as the first player, amazing player, but he's got quick little feet. He uses crossovers to get out, whereas the other 2 guys are loading. The second player, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. He has the ability to load those legs. And then the third player is a little bit younger, and you can see he's really progressing and starting to figure out the loading of the legs. So all amazing players, but all just go about this in a little bit different way. And again, really strong emphasis on loading of legs as they go through the pass. So shift 1, slide 2, crossing over.
No crosses, good.
And better on the
Good,
second one.
Carson, better.
So here's a really good shift 1, shift 2, open the hips, get out. So now he can cross on his exit. Shift 1, shift 2, exit. Really good job. Shift 1, shift 2, exit.
Nice elbow, good.
Great. So we can see still the same task is being executed here, still the same inside edge slide. So now we've done it on a straight pass, on a zigzag. They would eventually go in a shot. Now we're going to do it on a little bit rounder of a route for these players. And we're going to add the skill in and make it a little more difficult for them to load legs and push to get out. So again, 3 great players that just went about this in really different ways. Again, watch how they load their legs. Watch where the slide is distributed on the blade. We'll go one more time. So great job opening the hips, the first one. Good job on the second one. I'd still like him to load his leg a little bit more. Now he's got to use process because if we come back here. So this leg is just not available. We've closed our hip. We've got that knee in, but the toe is down. Really good job. But as we come to here, now we've had to cross to get out. And again, it's not wrong to cross over. We never say it was wrong. But if we cross over on our exits, we can only go this way. If we can open our hips, it allows us to go either direction if we so choose a little quicker. So again, it's no wrong for the crossover, but it just allows us the ability to make different decisions. Awesome. So now we'll go to the 4th, 5th, and 6th drill on the next slide. This one's a really cool drill. It's again using that inside edge to slide to create a shooting lane. So they could shoot on the inside of the net, they could shoot through the middle of these 2 nets, and they could shoot on the far side of the net. However, they had to release on their forehand. You wouldn't take a backhand shot in this situation. So they're typically, if it's a right shot, they're going to slide on their left leg. If it's a left shot, they're going to slide on their right leg, and then they're going to shift their weight in order to release. And again, good upper body mechanics, good hand mechanics, good puck protection as well as we go through the sequence. But again, asking them to be really creative. There's no cones, or there was no route, or there was no pattern. The only rule is that they had to release on their forehand. And they had to slide to create a lane either around the 2 nets or between the 2 nets. And the players would start on the dots in the neutral zone and really trying to get tons of reps and really trying to get them to be creative and get a good feel with not a lot of instruction to start. So slide, push. So really great job here of loading the legs. You can tell some load the leg a little more aggressively than others, and it allows them to push to open areas a little quicker. So again, that just all depends on a read. How fast are you coming in? How close is that defender? Where's the goalie? Where's the pressure? What route of the defender's feet are they taking? But again, we just really wanted to get the players to get a feel of how they can slide on that outside edge to utilize that skill to create a scoring chance. Now we kind of progress to a little bit more game specific in terms of the location. This was as well too. There are entries from both sides, but this is a little bit more of a down low play. So the first video here is just kind of getting a feel, ensuring that the players have vision, having good mechanics of the things that we spoke about earlier. And then the second one here adds the pressure, where we're looking for the player to make particular reads, but still utilizing the skill that we were working with. So if we start with here, players are both on the half wall. We execute a slide down low, slide up top, and they can drive the net. And the other side is going. We want really good pace, good reps. And it's just continuous. Both sides go at opposite times. Lines are both on the hash marks. Really just trying to get tons of reps in with no pressure, but really focusing on the details and the mechanics within this particular drill. So sliding, loading, pushing, protecting your puck, and then acceleration on the exit. So accelerate, good. Slide, accelerate, good. Okay, so now we're going to take this drill and we're going to add pressure. And now, yes, of course, we've asked for token pressure, so the player inside is not going to take the puck from them, but we've asked the player, the defending player, to give a cue. So to either turn their feet or to lunge at a puck. So as you watch the offensive players, watch if their eyes are up, watch if they're making a read, or are they just going through the same pattern that we did in the other drill with a player beside them. And I think for us, this separates the elite versus the good. So when we watch through this, and again, this is the first time they did it, so I'd expect the second time we go through would be quite a bit different. But watch the players. Are they moving pucks around defenders? Are they moving them in or out through the bubble of the defender? Are they pushing away? So that's one thing that we talk about with those inside edge slides, is that when we slide, we want to push away. So now we've created space between the two opponents. So slide, and don't just slide and stay there, but slide and push away, slide and push back. So are those players executing that? And that's kind of what we did in those earlier drills, was like, we're sliding away from the cones. We're sliding away from the nets. So here, now they have to slide away from the defender because they're tight and there's pressure. So if we watch this first player, I think this is an excellent job here. Okay, there's tight pressure, less than a stick length away, and that stick is quite close. So if you watch him here, he pulls the puck in towards his body as he slides. Beautiful, right? This player's feet were going there, and now he's had to stop in order to catch up to this offensive player in the white who's dictating the play. Okay, we push up. Okay, now the defending player is reaching for a puck. So what does our offensive player do? Changes direction. So those are those particular cues that we look for. Are you reaching for pucks? Which route are your toes taking? What are you looking at? Where are your shoulders? Those are little things that, yes, we look at them offensively, but we want to defensively, but we want to look at them offensively in order to take those cues and make those executions with that inside edge slide. Play one more. Slide, full reach, good. Slide, full flip, excellent. So again, as we look through these videos, we'll meet them all. Again, it's the same movement that was in the first drill. And these are our 6 drills that we focused on that day. We asked for pace, we asked for acceleration on our exits, and we were able to really kind of make some strides with this one particular task. It's not a skill, it's a task. It was just a inside edge sliding task that was used in 6 different situations in multiple different areas of the ice. So, And the last part for me is just practice implementation. So how can we incorporate this into practices? And this might be a little bit more for a head coach or someone who's not a skills coach. But I think the first thing is have a theme to practice that relates to the skating task of your choice. So if we kind of look at these 3 tasks, gliding, sliding, and pushing, right? There's an inside edge. So there's 3 practice plans you can develop for inside edge. And then there's outside edge. So there's 3 more. So those are 6 practice plans that you can create that are focused on one particular task. So for this practice plan, again, as I said, I'm going to give to you, it's just inside edge sliding. We didn't really cover a lot on glides. There's a little bit on pushes, but it's solely focused on sliding, and that was the focus of the choice. But I think for coaches is being really specific on what you want to work on that day and ensuring that the movements and the task and the skills that start your session are found within the very last drill. We actually did a game at the end. It was just simple cross ice 3-on-3. There was no goalies, so I didn't film it. But what we did is that for every goal was 3 points. And that for every time they successfully used an inside edge slide in a really good location off a really good read, we would give them 2 points. So they weren't just generating goals from scoring. They were now utilizing in the 7th drill of the session in a cross ice 3-on-3 format, the skills that they progressed through the whole session. You can use inside edges and retrievals. A lot of drills we have now should start with retrievals because we're often fighting to retrieve pucks to get pucks back. And we can make those retrievals deceptive. So we can use them on neutral zone regroups, offensive zone recoveries, but finding ways to ask players to use these tasks and these skills within the drills. Like, don't just break out a puck, add an inside edge slide, add an inside edge turn. But I think that's where we talk about here is adding drills that specifically incorporate skills. And utilizing them within the flow drills as well too. And then the last thing I talked about there was just having rules or points in drills or small area games that give credit or points to players who are utilizing what you went through with your session. So that's it for me. I know I'll turn it over to Mitch and Alex for questions, but again, I just really wanted to be really specific with the session. I know we talked about those 3 tasks and focus solely on the sliding. I'd be happy to talk to anybody if they want more information on gliding and pushing. But again, just kind of with the time that we had, just wanted to be a little bit more specific. But again, thanks everybody for attending, and thanks Alex and Mitch for setting this up and for thinking of me and inviting me. Certainly a lot of fun for me to show what we're doing, and I hope to get some feedback too. I'm really always open to feedback and ideas that you might have, and maybe other ways that I can progress a drill or change something or something that I might have missed. Or again, if you have any questions, my contact information is there. You can check out my Instagram or Twitter. I post a lot of videos on Instagram, but there's tons of information that captions. I don't know who reads them, but I still will continue to write there. I think it's fun reading them. But again, thanks so much to everybody for attending and for having me. And I'll turn it over to Alex and Mitch for some questions if they have.
Yeah, thank you, Joel. I think your presentation was based on details. I love it, loving it, a lot of them. I hope everyone really enjoyed it. Before moving to the questions, again, if you have questions, you can use the chat. We're going to go through a bit later. All our conferences are now on YouTube, so make sure you check our social media. We are uploading 1 conferences a week, so make sure you tune in. Again, make sure you like them, you share them. It's because of you we're doing this. Tonight, I'm going to send you right after this presentation an email with all the drills that Joel sent it or show it to you with the video and everything. Make sure you click on it. If you don't receive it, take a look in your spam or junk email. Usually it's going right there. I don't know why. And again, if they're not there, just send me an email. I'll send it to you right away. We'd like to thanks all our partners, the coaches site, Coach Them and True. Make sure to use those coupon BTD21 for the coaches site, so you can save $20 off a membership, and BTD15 with Coach Them, so you can save 15% off on an annual membership. Both of them, you can try them for free for 10 days. Again, click on the link in the email we will send later today. Thanks to True, they're gonna give away 3 pairs of glove at the end of all the presentation. Moving on to the question for you, Joel. First question is coming from Ryan. How have your teaching methods changed over the years?
Sorry, say it again.
Okay, I'll delete that second word because I just copy pasted and it was, he's maybe French, that's maybe why. No, how your teaching methods change over the years.
Yeah, really good question. Kind of what I touched upon in there is, well, the first thing is just a really strong emphasis on sliding skills. And that's, again, we do that with outside edge as well too. So punch turns, jab steps. We see Connor does it all the time. McKinnon uses punch turns and jab steps all the time. But using our edges to slide and shave ice, to change pace, to change direction, that's something that's probably within the last 2 years really new to me. It wasn't something I felt very comfortable with teaching before, especially kind of working with Skate Canada. Again, that's a really strong emphasis on figure skating. So really strong emphasis on form and technique and full extensions and full recoveries. So I've actually started to kind of move away from that. And I taught that for a really long time, especially with stride, for example, reaching out in front of you and pulling back. And, when you read some articles and do some studies, it's not necessarily the way that the fastest players skate anymore. So it's changed in a lot of different ways. And I coach with some amazing people up here in Edmonton, and Steven Zip and Dan Kordick, and we're always challenging each other and asking questions. But I think for me, like, one thing that stayed consistent, if I could say, is that even if it's a skill session, we're pretty demanding with pace and with attention to detail. So it's not just kind of like a Sunday skate and a leisure skate. I think that's one, no matter what skill we're working on, we harp on exits, we harp on effort. If you go through a drill, don't just flick a puck in the net. So that's something that I think stayed constant. But I think in terms of the technical skills that we teach, is just the game is skated so differently now, and players need to skate with deception. They have to have a really, really advanced and multifaceted skill set. Otherwise, they're just going to fall behind. So I think adding more tools to players' tool belt is certainly a method that we use, and instead of kind of being really specific on just a few skills, we try to give many skills. So
another question. I went through all the questions that we had in the forum, and to be honest with you, like, you answer all of them basically. So that was really good. I'll say the last one here, because I was only able to grab 2 out of the forum. In regards to your work in coaching, what have you observed as the biggest success?
For myself personally, or?
I'll say yes for yourself personally, but I'll say with youth players. So 2 questions in one.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think myself personally is just continuing to grow and open opportunities for myself, and meeting new people. I actually don't really know where I want to end up. I'm meeting some really amazing people, Mitch, Alex, and other people in Edmonton and all across Canada. So I think for me, the one thing is meeting all these really cool people, and all the people that have presented here too. Some amazing presenters who I would consider good friends and mentors for me. So I think the success that I've had, if you call it that, is the best part about it is just being able to meet new people and learn from them. And you don't necessarily have to agree with everything that everybody teaches you, but there's just some amazing things that you can take from different people, different ideas. So I think for me, it's just I'm grateful for the opportunities and the success, but it's just being the opportunity to meet new people. I think young people, for me, would just be getting them to understand that there's got to be effort and compete, even if it's a skill session, that they have to execute things with pace. And honestly, if they work hard, they can achieve a lot of things. You kind of sit back and you think about yourself as a player, and maybe when you're a coach, you think about yourself as a player and areas where you could have maybe developed. And I think for me, if I have to be honest in front of all these people, was this side for me. And I wish that part was a little bit stronger than the mental side and the perseverance and the compete and the work ethic all the time. So I think the players that work with us for a while, whether they're young or they're old, I think one thing that we take a lot of pride in is just ensuring that they work hard and they compete and they take pride in what they're doing. So
thanks, Joel. I have 2 questions from the chat, and also at the end, can you put back when you're sharing your screen the observation slide that you put at the beginning for the coaches, because someone want to take a snap of it to have it, so please. But first of all, you were talking about the sorry, I just want to be sure that players to avoid crossing the end, exiting skill execution. So at the beginning, you were talking about, just want to hear his stance on that and why he wants player to avoid crossing the ends, exiting skill execution.
Yeah, I think for us, we've explored both. I think there's merit for both. And again, in skills coaching, there's no right or wrong, honestly. But I think for us, when we have players that bring that inside, when we cross hands, it's typically because our top hand gets pushed inside our body and comes across. And it's like we're reaching to our other pocket to get whatever is in it, right? But for us, when we come around on an exit, we find that when players cross their hands, their eyes typically go to the puck because they're not as strong with their stick. So they're not leading their exits or their turns with their head, and they're not rotating their shoulders. That would be the first one. And then the second piece is that they're not in a triple threat position on their exit. So they can't pass, they can't shoot, and they can't really drive to make the next play. So those would be the 2 reasons why we focus on it. I'm really open to other ideas if somebody feels differently, but I think for us, it's just pushing that hand out, getting it, on that side of the body so that we're available to make a pass, to take a shot, to drive. So we're in a triple threat position, and we don't have to spend time in our exit focusing on readjusting and pushing our top hand out away from our bodies, because typically when we do that, we're staring at a puck. So increases vision and then increases your ability to make the next play. That would be my Cole's Notes version.
Perfect, thanks. And someone was, do you have the same with an outside edge practice? From what I've seen, most are uncomfortable on outside edge. What do you think about the outside edge?
Yeah. My whole global skills showcase presentation was outside edge. So
okay,
I just wanted to do something different, kind of like what you'd asked here for. But yeah, 100%. There's I've got tons of stuff on my Instagram too, if you want, or if you want to shoot me a message, I can send you a practice plan for that as well. But 100%, and it would look kind of similar, a little bit different skills, of course, but similar how we would progress from start to finish. But yeah, I did it in my global skills. So if you have access to Coach's site, I think you can get on there. There's some outside edge work on there for sure. And it's actually a little bit, because it was a longer presentation, a little more detailed. So feel free to utilize that too. But yeah, 100%, I would go through both inside and outside edges.
He said, thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah, if you can share, it's over for the question. Just before you share your screen on the observation slide. Oh, wait, you can do it right now. Josh, you're fast. It's good. Skating coach fast. So thank you very much. We really appreciate. It was really interesting, honestly, and there's so many detail in your presentation that I'm sure people will use it. And what I found interesting is that, and most of the skating skill, it's about poise. And like we talked before at the beginning of presentation, when you show us the picture of avalanche, it's just about that. So it's kind of it was really interesting. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone. See you next week. We have 2 presentations. So if you want to join us, we have one on Tuesday with Derek Miller, and we have also one with Dean Seymour on Thursday to close our BTD conference. Thank you. And
thanks everybody. Thanks for having me.